Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. Today we're going to do some work on our fonts. So I mentioned a few times that at some point I was going to change our fonts, kind of mess around a little bit with font sizes, font colors, font weights, and try to find something that really works with this layout. So that's what we're going to work on today. Just want to take a minute to show some of the pull requests that we've got, and so we're all on the same page with where we're at here. Let's see, so Sebastian and Harshit both submitted pull requests. Sebastian did some work with the padding here at the bottom of the card, so that's a lot nicer. Also with the colors, we had several different colors for our click effects here. Now it's all gray, so at least it's consistent. I'm still considering maybe changing the color, but the consistency is a big improvement. And sorry if I'm missing something, Sebastian, something else in the pull request. There were several things kind of lumped together in there. Now, Harshit's pull request is interesting. So this is a filter. Filter, and you could filter by month, year. So let's take a look at how it works. So we're going to go to the current bulletin. So we have everything up here. And here's the thing about the filter, though. Right now, let's see if I can grab. I want to try to get it to a date that will actually work. So let's try this. What is that? April, May, May 2016. So let's go May 2016. Okay, great. So you see all these posts are from May of 2016. Awesome. Let's go. And then you can actually go back if you want to and submit, and then you get everything. But here's what I note. I did notice one slight bug, so I don't know if anybody caught that. When I went back and selected none for these and submitted, let's see. Actually, let me go back to the category here. Let me just demonstrate this again. So we're going to search for February stuff. Okay, nothing in February. Now if we want to go back and submit, we get everything, even though we're on category 2. And if I click category 3, I still have everything, uncategorized, still have everything. If I click, see, I got to actually click all and then back. So that is potentially an unlikely bug. Someone would have to first pick a category and then want to filter by date within that category and then select none and submit again. But at that point, potentially it could be confusing. So I'm going to say that it's definitely a bug, but it's not a very likely bug for anyone to encounter. But you know, it's something to think about. Maybe we'll work on that. I definitely put that in a list of maybe things that would be nice to have before we launch, but not 100% necessary. Unless somebody really wants to do that, then that's great. Some things that maybe I'd like. I'm wondering about the button here. I don't really know how I feel about having a button in the side nav. Just from like a look perspective. The alternative would be maybe try to go with a different style button, see if that looks a little bit nicer, or potentially just have the search happen on change. I think it could be reasonable that someone would want to search an entire year, but not reasonable that someone would want to search every, let's say, February, no matter what year it is. I don't know. What do you think about that? So we'll see. my thought is basically you could have a check. So in the live site where I'm doing this, basically it just checks to make sure that these are selected, and then it only does a search if you select the month and the year. Although as we get further along, I could see the value in wanting to select only the year and make that an option. Right now, I guess we're coming up on 2018, so potentially that's more legitimate than when I first made it. So anyway, there's just a few things to think about, maybe to customize this a bit. So I welcome your opinions on that, and maybe I'll try to get some user data for some of the real users and see, like, have they been using this. I actually had a user call earlier today and ask me how to find something from a previous bulletin, so previous month, and so it was actually helpful. Although really the search function would have been the most helpful in that use case, but there was a desire to be able to search by date. So anyway, good work, Harshit. Yeah, definitely helpful, and like I said, so I have that kind of minor bug, but I went ahead and merged it in anyway because it fits the functionality of what we wanted. And like I said, I don't even know that the odds of that even ever happening are probably small. So I think it's good to go merged into master, and then we can all work from that. So let me check the live chat quickly before we get started with our fonts. Oh, okay. Harshit's saying, recommending do not use Material UI in further projects. It was a nightmare. I was almost going to lose my mind. Alright, I mean, I'm open to other things. We just need to find a material design framework that has what we want and what we need. So, I mean, within Material UI, we have two options. We have the older one and then the newer beta. And then potentially there's others out there. It's just a few projects ago when we were checking around, Material UI was, let's say, the most complete solution that we found out there. Maybe things have changed. So if anybody else is using a material design component library for React, let me know. Let me know what you think about it. Harsh has been having a rough time. I don't know. There are some minor annoyances with it, but I don't think I haven't used it enough to make a good judgment. I would think I would need to really learn how it works a little bit more before I make a judgment about the beta version of Material UI. I know I have had to kind of adjust some things here and there because I didn't quite like how things worked, but so far it has served its purpose. But like I said, I am open to trying other things. Okay. Oh, that's right. Sebastian also changed the print view, so now the close icon has moved to the right. I'll probably, just a few things about the print view. I'll probably end up taking out these horizontal lines because in the print view, I think it breaks it up. On first glance, it seems like this is supposed to break up between posts, but it's really not. It's between, this is all one post with a line in the middle. So either we'd remove the lines completely, or we'd have to move the line below attachment. Also, I think I'd like to have some padding on the sides. I think that would be good. And then potentially, I would maybe want this close icon to line up more with how we have the menu icon. So in terms of positioning, but otherwise, the print view is, I mean, even now at this point, the print view is fulfilling its function. You know, these are just kind of small details that I would like to see. So I'll either work on that at another time, or another stream, or anyone else can work on it if they'd like. Okay, I think so. Shashank saying, I believe about the print view that each post in a tile. Well, the idea here with the print view is to be as minimalist as possible, and we want to optimize it for print. So the less we have to print, the better. So I'm kind of leaning towards just completely removing this and instead making sure that there's a reasonable amount of padding between each post. You know, for instance, we would tighten this up so that the attachment name was really close to this. Maybe, you know, no more than 8 pixels between the attachments and the attachment name. You know, but between the posts, no less than 16 pixels. You know, possibly more. We'd have to see. So, you know, I'm just kind of thinking, like, it adds up if somebody's printing this out, maybe a lot of posts every week. You know, all these lines take ink, right? So anyway, so in this case, really the way it looks on the web is entirely secondary to the way it would print out. So that's what I think I want to keep in mind for that. Okay, well, let's get started. I'll come back to the live chat and go over anything if I've missed anything, but we're about 15 minutes into the stream, and we haven't gotten to, I mean, we had to get caught up on some of the changes, obviously, but now I'd like to start my Pomodoro clock. We're going to do 25 minutes of coding. In this case, we're going to be, you know, mainly working with CSS and some of the built-in features of Material UI. Okay. So, first thing I want to do is work on this. This by far is going to be the font that is seen and used throughout the site more than any other font. Okay, so we're going to work on this, but then we're also going to visit this sidebar. We're gonna look at, you know, the headings. Depending on how much time we have and how long it takes, we're going to look at every bit of font on this site. But first, let's deal with this, because if we only get one thing done today, this is going to have the biggest impact. So here's what I'd like to see. I would definitely like that font to be bigger. And I'm not a huge fan of the font weight. So let's just play with it a little bit. I know in a previous stream we had worked with what was built in with Material UI in terms of font styles, but I really think I'd like to customize it exactly how I want it. It's nice that Material UI has those built in, but it's really not that big of a deal to change some fonts with CSS, so some font sizes and weights. So I think in this case we'll get a better result if we just customize it ourselves. So let's go into DevTools, and we'll just play around a little bit with the fonts. Now, I've also had the idea of bringing in that responsive font from Materialize CSS that we've used on previous projects. So that's still an option. I'm a little afraid that it might be too big. People are used to a font that's somewhere in between this and what we're using when we use that responsive font from Materialize. So we'll see. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that in an aside tag? Really interesting. Okay, well, let's bring this up so we can see what's going on here. And let's take that font size, and I want it to be at least 16 pixels. I don't want it to have any fonts that are smaller than 16 pixels. Let's go with font weight. Let's try 400. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Do you see that difference? We'll be able to, side by side see the difference. But already, I think this is. Let me zoom in here. I don't know about you, but at least on my screen, already I see a big difference in terms of readability. This just seems a lot nicer. So let's keep going with this. I do want to check. What do we have a color? Okay, I like that color. We have that. This is the correct way to do color with material design on the web. Black with some transparency, particularly 0.87 for your primary text. Okay. Alright, that's not bad. Let's try to bring this up though. Let's see if it will still be reasonable. And I'm going to zoom out so that we see what it's really like. Would it be reasonable to go up to, let's say, 18? I think 18 looks nice. All right, let me go back. Let me see the live chat. What do you all think? I don't think 18 looks too large at all. Okay, it looks like John Hansen says lighter font weight I find much easier on my eyes, especially my old eyes. Yeah, that's what I'm going for, really. For somebody who's for somebody that has perfect vision, right? It's, who cares? The font size doesn't really matter. They're going to deal with font size no matter what. But I'm more worried about, there's going to be a lot of older people reading this. We certainly have, especially among the faculty here. There are some older professors that I want to make sure that they're able to read this. So I kind of want to go beyond, just the normal use case. Okay. All right. Shashank thinks actually that the 18 pixel font is a little bit, it's clogging. Actually, I would like to see, maybe let me apply this 18 pixels and then see how it all lays out, because right now, we're doing this within the card, so you see it's kind of going over. We really aren't going to know until we see everything like that. So let's go ahead and try this. And yeah, we'll try this. Let me see. Okay, so this is really interesting. I would have assumed that this was somehow in a paragraph tag and not an aside. That's interesting. Does anyone know, should this be in an aside? Is there any benefit to that? And is there any way we can change that, since we're not actually creating this tag directly, it's being created by Material UI. Let's see how I want to select this. MUI card content. See, all the classes are, they're not helping me right now. I guess I could just do all asides. Okay, Brett says aside is good semantically. Okay, cool. I really haven't used aside very much, so I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it was the right way to use it. I'm glad that it works. I wasn't really looking forward to digging into that component and trying to change it. Okay, so let's go with that. Let's go to our index.css. I would like these styles to apply over a wide range of things, so this is, I think, the proper place. Let's see. Let's go with P and aside, and we'll add this in. Let's save that, and whoops, went the wrong way. I guess we'll need to refresh ourselves. Okay, I suppose we're getting overridden here. Let's see what's going on. Yep, we are. So we're gonna have to, I really hate to use important on something that's this kind of global in our styles, but I really also don't want to have to go into every place and put these things in. So let's see. Let's see. Alright, so Harsh is saying use style.js. Alright, let's check out our style.js. I mean, at this point, we're pretty much still testing it out as well, so I'm all for putting things in the right place, but we're almost like designing as we code, so I guess I could just do it in DevTools. I guess I don't have style.js open currently, so let's grab it from here. Some styles. Okay. Let's see what. Yeah, I'm just wondering what. Is there a class already being applied that we could just add on to? See, these are all have these numbers added. Okay. Okay, Harsh is saying open post preview. Alright, we'll check it out. Okay, so at least it's being applied here, which is nice. It's not bad. Actually, in post preview, we have quite a bit of space. We could probably go larger if we really wanted to. I think this is fine for now, but we definitely have that opportunity. Okay. All right, I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that for now. Let's go back to this view, and we also do want to make sure that we don't forget to check this view as well. All right, so let's check out what we have going on here. Content. I guess I could check into the let's see. Okay, Harsh, you keep saying I mean the JS file. Oh, okay. The component post preview. Okay, so not the, sorry, I thought you meant go to the post preview and not the component. Where are we at? Post preview. Harsha says, see there, card content. Yeah, did we have card content? Okay. Card content. There we go. Okay, so here's where we're pulling in that content. Okay. So I don't know. I'm thinking here. Since we haven't found a typography type that we like for this, should we even be using typography? Could we get, I mean, ought we to just use a paragraph tag? Our shit has support. Did you really submit a pull request already on this? Are you saying check the pull request when we did this? So I'm actually interested to see we would have to switch it up because we can't just pop content. Well, I suppose we could, because we've already sanitized it, so we could put it like that. Let's see. We could type I mean, we could just add a class on it. Are we already using classes content? Oh, okay. Harshit has submitted a pull request basically doing what we were doing here. So, where are we at? So, what we're doing here now is we're going to keep the typography, and we're going to add a class. Okay. Then, up here, where we have all our classes here, then we can just add that class in, and we'll put in our CSS as if as an array, or I'm sorry, as an object. So you can see there are several ways to do styles in React. All right, we're using a mixture. So we're doing some normal CSS here, right? This should be very familiar, which works in React. It's totally fine. It works. But there are some other ways, this being one of the ways, where we're actually making an object and we're using that within our components. So this kind of allows you to have a much more self-contained component. If you have all the styles for your component and actually in the component, it's much easier to just take that component and reuse it anywhere, right? But if we put all our styles here in index.css, well, number one, they're all global, which I mean, global styles aren't in themselves bad, but it can be bad. There can be conflicts. It can be difficult to manage. So anyway, depending on what project you're doing and how you want to organize it, you may want to do these. There are other ways as well. These aren't the only ways to do it. Okay. I will say this though, if you do it this way, I find it easier to transition to React Native, because this is the way you'll most likely want to do this in React Native, with slight differences, but we did a stream on React Native if you want to know more about those differences, but it's a much easier transition. So if you just kind of start learning it this way, it's a little bit weird at first to get used to making it as an object, and there are ways to actually put real CSS in here in terms of syntax as well, if you really want to do it like that. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I know we kind of almost had it done here, but I don't want Harshit's work to go to waste. So I'm going to bring in his pull request just really quickly, and get rid of what I was doing here, and just so that I don't have to deal with any merge stuff right now. Whoops. There we go. I'm going to get rid of everything that we've done. And here we go. So let's just double check. Git status. No, index.css has changed. What did I change? There we go. Alright. Is that better now? It's probably just indentation. Actually, that's really weird. Why do I have that indented like that? I never indent things like that. This is really weird indentation. Okay. Anyway, let's just... I guess it doesn't matter now. messed it all up. Alright, let's go with this P tag again, since I do want this to apply to all paragraphs no matter what anyway. We use a mix here both ways. What was it? Font size 18 and font weight 400. And I may end up changing this as well. I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea to do the responsive font for the paragraph tags, and then go with a standard font for that post preview, the cards. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I doubt I have time on this Pomodoro session. Maybe on the next session we'll do that. But anyway, let's just commit this quickly, and let's be a little bit more descriptive. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I had blocked my live chat. Let's see. Oh, okay, Harshit. Thanks for that. I always forget that. You could just, if I wanted to just revert everything without manually doing it, I could have just done git checkout and then a dot. So that would have been faster. Thanks. Let me check my time. Okay, perfect timing. We'll just finish this up. And now I can merge. Great. And awesome. So now we have all of Harsh's stuff. We're gonna see it now. Great. Okay, so here's what it looks like with the size 18 font. Something could be better. Maybe it's the line height. Maybe line. I know we can do better. It just seems something's off. All right, let me take 5 minutes now and go through the live chat, answer any questions you have. Then we'll do another session, and I think I'm gonna check out some previous work that we've done and just compare what we're doing in terms of line height, because that may be what seems off to me here. Okay, so let me scroll up, and I'll try to get through as much as I can in these 5 minutes. Okay, so Red23 has a question. Do you think that HTML is easier than Python? Yeah, for somebody who has no experience in any type of coding at all or web development, I do think HTML would be easier to learn. Now, if you already have a background in programming, like let's say another programming language, you know, maybe you're into Java or some form of C, it actually, this may sound weird, but I think it actually might be easier to go with Python than to learn HTML. And I wouldn't normally think this, except I do know, I've talked to at least one programmer who was always used to doing just strictly like software development with C#, and trying to learn more front-end stuff like HTML it was actually somewhat challenging because it's a whole different mindset. So, you know, it's hard to measure, you know, what's easier or not easier, you know, what unit of measurement is there for that. But I would say the majority of the time HTML is easier, but it somewhat depends on what background you're coming from in terms of your knowledge base. Okay. Not really a lot of questions going on, so sorry for the long pause. I'm just trying to read through and see if I need to answer anything. So, oh, Harshit says Node 8 is now an LTS. So yeah, if you haven't upgraded your version of Node for a while, now might be a good time to go up to Node 8. I know in particular for this project, it will not work unless you have at least Node 7.4, I think. So 7.4. So not a bad time to upgrade. Oh, good question. Joseph asks if there's a print view for individual posts, and yes, there is. So if we click an individual post and then hit print view, we have our print view here. So actually, now that I think about it, I don't think this is a really important, you know, it's not a priority, but, you know, it's possible that we could do a little bit with this section here to make it more printer friendly. So, like, obviously, I wouldn't want any color in the print view, because most likely it's going to be printed black and white anyway. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think this is acceptable as is, but we'll... maybe we'll come back to that at some point. But anyway, good question. Okay. Denanjay says, learning at Stanford online CS 101 course. Says, is it worth learning? Yeah, I think having a basic knowledge of computer science is very useful. Even just if you're doing web development, is it necessary for web development? No, it's not necessary. But I think it could definitely be helpful. And it makes it easier for you to kind of branch out and maybe go into different things if you don't want to stick with web development, because you have that background and kind of a better view of the big picture in terms of all of, you know, the computer science realm. So I think that's awesome. I haven't checked out that Stanford 101 course. I I have done a bit of the Harvard CS50 course, and I thought that was very interesting. If I have time, I'd love to finish that. Just got busy with other projects. But no, I think it's, if you have the time to do it, it's worthwhile. All right. Let's go back. Okay, let me go back and let's start our Pomodoro session, and we're going to let's go ahead. Oh, okay, now I remember what we were going to do. We were going to check out this spacing. There's just something about this that I don't like right now. So we're going to check that out. Oh, okay, Harshit mentioned it. I had said I thought it was 7.4 for the Node version. We actually need 7.6, and that's because we're using async await on the server. So we need at least 7.6. So if you try to, I believe we have this in the documentation for the project. So I think it is in there. But in case you didn't read that, and you're having trouble getting the project to work on your own machine, make sure you have the correct Node version. Okay. All right, let me check out. Actually, I want to check this out on the current bulletin. So I'm on my other screen. I'm just going to bring up DevTools just to check quickly what kind of styles we have here on our in the current bulletin. These are in paragraph tags, but okay. So our font, where's it at? Line height. Where's our line height coming from? 1.5. All right, let's check our line height here now. That's odd. Line height 24. Where are we getting this from? Yeah. All right, let's try some different things with line height. So I'm basically running 1.5 as the line height, and let's see what that changed it to. Okay, so let's see the difference. Actually, I really like that. I don't know about you all, but that just, at least for my eyes seeing this, that just made a big difference. Not bad. So I mean, it was only a few pixels different. So we're going from 24 pixels in line height to 27 pixels, but I think that makes a big difference. All right, let's throw that in. So there's two places where I want to change this right now, because I think I'd like to apply it to paragraphs as well. So I'm going to try to keep using the setup I have now for the paragraph tags, although I still might change it to use a responsive font. And by that I mean, if you're not familiar with a responsive font, the font size will actually change based on the screen width. So it'll be a more optimal viewing experience. Basically, the idea is to keep the words big enough to be readable, and not only that, but the amount of words per line in that sweet spot, which is, I'm trying to think what it was. I can't remember for sure what the optimal amount of words per line is. It's easy to Google it and see. If anybody remembers what that is, please let me know in the live chat. But there is actually an optimum amount if you want people to be able to read things easily on your site. And it's hard when you have multiple, like different size screens, to actually get that. A responsive font can help you stay within that range. So it doesn't always work. It's not perfect, but you have a much better shot at staying within that range if you do it like that. So what did I just do? Line height 1.5, and we're also going to do it here. So where's our there we go, card class. Line height and 1.5. Okay. So, whoops, this should give us an auto refresh. And let's double check to make sure this is being applied. It definitely should be. Yep, it is. Wonderful. And we can check in here. Make sure it's applied as well. And nope. Did I forget to save it? It's possible. Alright, let's give it a refresh. Oh, there we go. Okay, awesome. Alright, so this is acceptable right now. If we have time later on and we want to keep messing with it, we certainly can. Let's go to this side nav, because aside from the titles, which right now I think are acceptable, I may want to work on them a bit. But aside from that, I just want to make sure that everything we're doing here in the side nav is it's all, you know, as readable as it can be. So we may not have to do much, but I just want to double check a few things and make sure. So the first thing I want to check is the font size. We're at 14. I don't want to be at 14. So let's bump this up now to, let's see, what is this? Category 3. Yeah, let's bump this up. And we're going to go font size 16 pixels. Okay. Yeah, I think that's much better. It doesn't look like we're in any danger of having, you know, something be too long. Everything's short enough here that it should work. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. I think this component is called the drawer. So let's find that. Where are we at? Drawer. And here, list item. Yeah, here. So we're gonna have these list items, and I guess we could put it right on the link. We already have a classes link on here, so let's edit that. Where's it at? Are we doing this down to the bottom? Where's our classes? Oh, okay. Are we passing in? Class props, classes link. I guess we're passing it in. Okay. So layout, index, Sidebar. Okay. That's what we're calling it. Are we calling this sidebar? Where are we bringing this in? Sidebar drawer. Let's change this to be consistent with our naming. So I'm going to change this to drawer. So anyway, I guess this is good. So I don't know if there's some reason for doing it differently, but I think it's less confusing if in general we keep our component names the same as the file names for our components. So that was throwing me a little bit. I was looking for a component called drawer, but instead it was sidebar. So we're going to have some sort of standard like guide for contributing, a style guide or something like that. So anyway, so if you're submitting pull requests, just keep that in mind. Otherwise, it can get a bit confusing. But yeah, we didn't really have any type of formal guidelines about that, so we'll have to add that in somewhere. I think we have a contributing file for this repo. I'm not positive though, but perhaps we should just have some sort of global style guide. That would probably help things out. Where we at? Classes, this class. Okay, so we're bringing in. Oh, okay, Harshit says we're pulling that in from style.js. Alright, so let's grab that. Where are we at? Style.js. Right here, right next to it. Okay. Let's bring this in. Drawer. Drawer header. Oh, Harshit, good thinking. So he said he Harshit ended up naming that component sidebar instead of drawer because he didn't want it to be confused with the drawer component that is brought in from Material UI. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Let me see. Are we pulling in the drawer? Okay, it doesn't look like we were pulling it in anywhere else. So, okay, so how about this? Let's do, like I said, we'll have to type this up and kind of do it formally, but how about if there could be some conflict where we're using a library that has the same component name as the one that we're trying to create, our custom one can have the normal name, so in this case drawer. And then if we do want to use the library's version elsewhere, or potentially even in the same file, we just prefix it. So instead of drawer, it would be MUI drawer. Then that way we can just keep using both if we need to, and there will be no confusion about where that component comes from because we're calling it MUI drawer. So can we do that? Would that be doable and easy, or is that going to be, should we do it the opposite way and somehow prefix our component to maybe say custom drawer? Let me know what you think would be easier or more reasonable to do. I'm open to either one, but it'd just be cool if we could decide on one way and then be consistent with it later on. So, I mean, I'm sure most of you can understand and handle the distinction, but potentially if we get newer people who are just learning React, I'd like to try to make it as easy of an experience as possible. If they're either looking through our code or trying to contribute. And then potentially if I get any student workers here at the university that are dealing with this, they're likely going to be new to React. So anyway, you understand. Okay, so sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. I was trying to find what styles I need to bring in. Oh, sorry. So we have a drawer here. Class. We're passing this props classes. Okay, so basically I should be fine to add a class here, and then it'll just go straight down, right? Okay, awesome. Harshit, I'm gonna grab your comment here, and let's see. I'm gonna put it up here quickly just so everybody can see it. Let me make sure. No, it's blocked. Let's put it up higher. Okay, so this is pretty much, this is what we want to do. So up here, it might be hard to see because it's gray, but basically we're running, let's take this out. So we're going to do import drawer as MUI drawer. So in this case, material UI drawer, but we could really prefix it with different things depending on what library we're using. And then it'll be, of course, from material UI / drawer. So, excellent. Cool. I figured there was a way to do it. Okay, so let me see. Drawer.js. See the class name. Oh, okay. So let's just pass it down. Let's find out where our other drawer classes are. Just group them together. So we have drawer paper, drawer header. Let's throw in drawer item. Yeah, let's go drawer item, and then we're going to say fonts, size 16. 16 pixels. Let's not forget that comma. I've gotten so many errors from forgetting commas in this. It's like, it's so silly, but it's easy to forget that little comma. Okay, now let's go back in our drawer.js. Let's go back down to our list. Classes link. Oh, okay. We already had a class. Shoot. Let me find that class. Link. Link. I'm not seeing it. Link. There we go. None. Color none. Oh, okay. You know what? For now, I'm going to keep this separate. I don't want to put the, because I assume this link color is could potentially be used in other things, and not necessarily the side nav. So I'm just going to apply both styles here. So I'm thinking later on, if in fact we do a responsive font, I don't want to risk conflicting. So I would potentially have all of the font one size and then somehow have a link a different size. So anyway, let's do, where are we at? Drawer. So let's go class name, classes, link. How do we do this? Harshit says use class name package to combine styles. Okay, how do we do that? I was just going to pass both styles in. So I'm interested in this. So Harshit's saying we can use class name package to combine styles, but I am unfamiliar with this. Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. I think I've never done it like that. Before I've done like an array within here of classes. I think that's how I did it. I think it was an array. He says see app bar. Okay. So class names, classes, flags, class type. Awesome. I prefer this way to some ways I've done it previously. That's really nice. Now I'm not going to do it on this one, but I am actually just curious. What if we wanted to do class names like this, but then in addition do some? Oh no, we wouldn't want to, right? Because this is the class name. It's not direct styles, right? Okay, never mind. Never mind. I was just thinking about the way I did things on that React Native app that I completed, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago. But I suppose that was a different use case now that I think about it. So please disregard that question. Let's see. So class names. Did we have to bring that in? No. Yes. Okay. Let's import class names here. It might already be imported. We'll see. Nope. Alright, let's bring that in. Import class names and oh, I lost that link. So, there we go. Class names. So we have class names. And then, actually, let me see. Did you have to put app bar? Sorry. Okay, so we do we have to keep? Okay, so we do have to keep doing classes dot. Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to double check. What do we call that? Drawer item. Okay. Let's check this out now. Whoa. Let's give it a refresh. See what's going on. I messed something up. Let's see. What did I do? Let me, whoops, there it is. All right. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. So let me share this with you all. So Harshit is saying, quickly, I'm just going to confirm that we have the right font. No, not yet. It's not working yet. Let me go back. Okay, so classes drawer item. Let's make sure this is what I'm doing. Item font size 16 pixels. Interesting. Drawer item. Yeah, it looks like it's exactly the same. Looks the same, and let's make sure we are bringing in class names. Okay, let's check it out again. Let's just do a hard refresh. No, huh? Alright, let's see what's going on here. Category. There we go. That's what's going on. Okay. Alright, so here's what's happening. We are in fact getting this font size but it's on the A tag, and somewhere along the line it's being overridden by this. So, whoa, that was unintentional. Alright, let's see. Shoot. Alright. Is there any way to do... Or is the link component... We are not creating that, right? Yeah, that's React Router. We need to put this lower down on the list item text. So that was my mistake. I should have never put it on the link. So let's go class name, classes dot drawer item, and then now we don't need this anymore. And we don't need this. So let's save that and see if that gets us down low ugh, doesn't look like it. Let's see where it got applied. Not there. Ugh, here. We're so close. Yeah, list item. And okay. I don't know how we're gonna get further down than that. Okay, so what I need to do is check out the Material UI documentation. To see if there's some built-in way that I can get at that interior paragraph tag or override it or something. So let me do that. I know my timer's up, but we're so close. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. So let's do this, and then I'll go to the live chat. So where are we at? We need. Wait, what was it? List item text. Okay, that's actually really helpful. Let's see. I don't know if you saw that. I really like that feature. That'd be cool to implement something like this in some of our projects. So just keep that in mind. It can go on the wish list. All right, so let's see. We have list item text. Let's see. To disable the children won't be wrapped by typography content. Oh, is that what's happening? Pcast typography. Okay. All right, so let's try. Did we already have this on? Let's see what we have on here. Disable typography. See if that does it. Nope. It's actually worse. Interesting. So it changed it to a div. It still didn't do what we want. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's not what we wanted at all. Alright, let's take that out. And instead, let's check out. I'm interested in this root here. Maybe we'll have to do an override. Okay. Let's see. Alright, so I can use inline style approach. I can approach style property. Let's see how this thing. Maybe we can do it like this. Yeah. Let's try that. Sorry, that text was probably really small. I apologize. So anyway, I'm thinking something like this would let us get at the root component. So in this case, we're going to want to say classes. I'm going to try it like this first. I'm not sure it'll work, but always worth it to try a simple thing. Alright, yeah, that does not look like it's the font size we want. Let's see if anything happened. Wow, we're still getting it there. I want to hard refresh. Okay. I'm not sure what the material UI way of doing this is supposed to be. So let's, if you supposed to be written, a better way to do it is using non-CSS directly in component. So John Hansen says it's seeming to suggest that styles need to be overwritten directly in the component with CSS. The problem is, it seems like I can't get any deeper in than this div. Anything within that I can't touch. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm certainly open to finding a better way of doing this at some point, but I think this will work. So let's go with, let's get rid of this. I'm going to do a class name, and let's see if we can, class name equals, drawer item. Whoops, keep going the wrong way. Alright. There we go. So we got a class of drawer item on here. Now, let's just put drawer item P, and we'll do font size 16 pixels. Important. Oops. Now, great, that works. So it didn't apply everywhere because we need to put that class on these places, but you can see this works. So we are able to get down to it. So is there a way to do that in Material UI or within that JavaScript object where you had a bunch of styles in? Potentially, I don't really know, but good old normal CSS has done the job. So yeah, and I gave a disclaimer, a warning about using important on a previous stream, so I'm not going to do it again, but just the short version is don't use important unless you really have to. Alright, cool. So let's just add this class on so it applies, you know, across the board here, and then I will get to the live chat. Alright, so let's take this class name to here. So we want this on all. We also want this on, let's see, how did we do this? Categories. There we go. And what do we got? List item, categories, subheader. And I'm going to take out classic mode now because I don't think I'm going to add classic mode. I don't think it's necessary. I am going to keep the help page, which we'll do at some point. Alright, I think that's it. That should be all the places. Didn't work on this one. I thought we got that one. What's going on here? Because it's a div. Let's update our styles. So we want drawer item P and we want drawer item div. Now let's give it a refresh. No, still not. Interesting. Oh, actually, oh, I see. So in fact, drawer item did get placed right here on that root. So we didn't need drawer item div. What we needed was just simply drawer item. There we go. Now it works. Okay, so we got it here, there. Take action is the only one that's looking still the old size. So what do we have here? Drawer, Alright, perhaps I did not get that on there. Let's find where that's at. Up here a bit. Yeah, which one was that? Take action. Yep, I did not catch that one. Oops. Let's grab this class name. Draw item. There we are. And that should be it. Yep, alright. Who would have thought it would have been that time consuming to change the font size of these? Once again, sometimes React makes complicated things simple and simple things complicated. I don't want to blame React completely here. We were trying to do it the Material UI way. We went through all the steps before we decided to, kind of come up with our own solution. So don't want to blame React completely for that. Okay, so that might be really worthwhile. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not like we had to be geniuses to come up with that workaround. That's pretty simple. It just seemed like there would be some other way with Material UI. I think that might be worthwhile as a some sort of pull request to Material UI to come up with a better way to do that. I'm not sure. But at least a more consistent way, right? Because for most of the things, there's a certain prop or a way that you would do things like that, and you wouldn't go directly to the CSS and add your own classes. But then in this case, that seemed to be the only way that it would work. So I think it would just be nice to have some consistency one way or another. Either go with everything is just your own CSS, or uses normal CSS classes, your own CSS, or everything has a specific prop in the Material UI way. I mean, I don't know. Does that make sense? I kind of like to lean towards the idea of let's just use our own CSS for a lot of it, right? They can have classes that are built in, but then it would be very simple to just say, okay, we're gonna be able to edit this and override classes. I mean, I I don't know, maybe this is not the case, but it seems to me if you're building things with React, you're probably at the point where you can certainly manage your own CSS. And if you want to use what's built in for them, wonderful, but then make it the standard way to change things up should be the same way you would change things up in any type of website, which would be write some CSS. Anyway, I'm not involved with that project, so maybe there is some really good reason why it's not like that I'm overlooking. It's entirely possible. I don't want to be overly critical of the team that works on Material UI. It's certainly been very helpful for some of my projects, so I really appreciate that. Alright, so now let me answer some questions here in the live chat. Let's see. Okay, I scrolled back way up towards the top because that's where you left off at, and we were talking about optimal font sizes. John Hansen says that his base font size is 18 pixels. So, yeah, I like that. Like I said, my base is usually 16. Well, I shouldn't say my base. My absolute minimum is 16. So if someone wants to have like some small text down in the footer or something like that, minimum 16. But the normal text is usually more than 16 pixels. But I don't know if you all have run into this issue, but I have people that I make the sites for here, you know, people in other departments, they seem to be opposed to this larger font size, and they want it smaller. The reason being they want to fit in as much text as possible. And I've gotten some pushback on the larger font size, and I mean, I just explain every time that this is much more readable. I don't know what experience you've had with your clients, you know, with things like that, but also I usually explain that users aren't likely to read all that text. Even if you make the text small and fit in a bunch of stuff, odds are nobody's going to read all that. It's much better to just get to the point, only put what's really important in there, and then have it readable. Then people may actually read it all. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen some studies and statistics that seem to suggest that I am taking the correct approach to it, but I would like to hear what you all think about it as well. I'm always open to changing up the way I do things if there is some proof that there's a better way. Rook says a lot of people just do Control Plus on all sites to read better. Yeah, that's I often do Control Plus depending on the site, and certainly while I'm streaming I Control Plus everything, otherwise you'll never be able to see it. But the thing that I worry about is some users are just very, very averse to any type of technology, and I don't know that they necessarily even know that they can Control Plus and increase the size. So I am very much opposed to the mindset of thinking as your users as less intelligent. I don't like that at all. I think we should respect our users and try to make things as easy as possible. So I like the idea of assuming that if there's some easy workaround, the user may not know about it because they're not really into computers. I think that's perfectly acceptable to assume that. So anyway, I would like to make that distinction, that assuming that a user doesn't know how to Control Plus is not the same thing as assuming that they're not intelligent. They could be very intelligent and just have invested their time in learning other things not related to a browser. So anyway, that's kind of like, it always bugs me and gets on my nerves when I hear people talk about users or clients in a derogatory way, like they don't know what they're doing. I mean, I'm frustrated with clients and users frequently, but no need to belittle them in any way. Okay. I'm reading down through. If you can see the live chat, you know what I'm talking about. But if you can't see the live chat, I just sort of mentioned. So Harshit, who I mention frequently because he's helped out so much with the projects. When sorry, I need some of my throat. Okay. Logged out of Salesforce. Okay. When I'm coding and Harshit's trying to get my attention, it's just like all caps. So there are like sections within the live chat where it's just no with like a ton of O's, all caps, and so it's amusing. I know sometimes I get into what I'm doing and I forget to check the live chat. So sorry about that, Harshit. I appreciate you not giving up on me and continuing to try to get my attention. Okay, good. There's a good question here. So, not sure. So, Yashu asked this. Not sure if you're still with us, Yashu. But the question is, if we have a separate language for styling, why do you use CSS in JavaScript? That's a very good question and a legit question. I can totally understand that. CSS in JavaScript is weird. It's not necessary in React, but I believe I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to say it again because I think this is, to me, the answer to why you would do CSS in JavaScript. To have a self-contained React component so that, number one, you could take that component and use it elsewhere, and you'd have everything you need. Just plug in your data, and you're good. Number two, it also makes it super easy for someone to look at your code, look at your component, and see the whole picture of how everything's going to look when you have your styles and your markup all right there, and your logic, because it's JavaScript, all right there. So that's the benefit of it. I will say there's other potential benefits depending on exactly how you're putting the CSS into your component. So I know on React Native, when I used create React Native app, there was something, I believe it was built in to create React Native app. I don't know that it's built in to React Native itself. I'm not sure. But there was something that if you used, if you put the CSS in a certain way, within your React component, it actually gave you a slight performance benefit because of behind the scenes how those eventually got applied. So I don't know enough about how that JavaScript gets transferred and becomes Java or Swift or whatever to know exactly why there's a performance increase, but I do know from that Udacity nano degree that I did that there is a performance increase. So I don't know if there's any similar thing with regular React that could be done, but it's potentially, I mean, it's possible. Okay, John Hansen says, a nice thing is to style the text to flow in columns, as when the width of a single card view gets too wide, it's harder to read. Oh. I have never thought of that. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm not sure if I want to change things up in this project because the users already have an expectation. But that's really interesting. We do have some upcoming projects within the next few months that may come in handy. I really like that idea. Let's see. Okay, Yashu also asks, why don't you use Sass or SCSS over CSS? To be honest with you, I much prefer SCSS. I actually really like Sass, plain Sass, but the only reason I don't use it is because you can't copy in normal CSS and have it work. If it weren't for that, I'd be using that because I really like just the indentation style. That's the fastest I can write CSS is by using Sass. But anyway, I end up using SCSS because it kind of gives you a little bit of both worlds, the CSS and the SCSS, and the Sass. Just a tongue twister trying to get all those letters out. Anyway, I do love to use it. We just haven't set it up on this project to use it, but in previous projects we have. So whenever possible, I do like to use Sass instead. If you're not familiar with Sass or SCSS, it's a CSS preprocessor. It lets you do some cool things with nesting of CSS. So I guess a good example, I have a good example here. So instead of doing this, where I have this comma, so drawer item P and then drawer item, I could potentially do something like this. No, it wouldn't. That's not a good example. Never mind. Media print. Shoot, I don't have a good example here. I'll just have to make one up. So in regular CSS, we could do something like this, or I would say, let's just go body A for all the A tags, and then I would put a CSS something. And then, so let's just put that in there just so we have something. And then I would need to do in CSS, let's say I wanted to do body P, right? So instead of this, with Sass, I could write body A obviously this something is not real CSS, so if you're new to CSS, please don't try to type this in, it won't work. And then you could write P, right? And then whenever it was all processed, it would end up looking like this, but you saved yourself a little bit being able to do this. So it doesn't really seem like there's much of a savings. This probably takes up the same amount of lines, but it can be very useful if you get a little bit deeper in. Generally, you don't want to nest too deeply, maybe just 3 levels or so, but you could do this. So that's the very basic thing. You can also do things like have variables, so you could make a Sass variable, and then, so let's say we made this a color variable, then throughout everything we could just say, like, this is our primary color. We've defined it in one place. If later on we wanted to change our color scheme, all we'd have to do is change that variable and it would change throughout. So there's really cool things. There's other things you could do with, like, calculations. It's almost like a blend of a programming language and CSS. So anyway, that's a brief overview of Sass or CSS, SCSS I mean. So this is SCSS syntax. There's another syntax called Sass that is different. but you can do a lot of the same things with it. Okay, Harshit. So Harshit before the stream sent me a coupon for DigitalOcean. Harshit, I tried to use the coupon code and it told me that it wasn't valid, so it ended up not working for me. So I don't know what the problem is, but thank you though for sending that. That was really nice of you. Joseph Whittington asks, so anyone can join this project? Definitely. Anybody is welcome to submit a pull request to this project or point out any issues or anything like that. Of course, I review all pull requests. I may or may not pull it into the project, but I do my best to pull in everything that I can. So I may ask you to adjust some things first, and then I'll pull it in. But I welcome anybody, especially people who are new. If you'd like to get some experience with pull requests, I know sometimes it can be intimidating to try to get a pull request submitted to a larger repository, and not everybody is friendly whenever you submit a pull request. Sometimes people are frustrated or having a bad day, and I've had that happen before. You submit a pull request and the maintainers just aren't very polite if, let's say, it wasn't exactly what they wanted. So I'm not going to do that to anybody. So if you're a little bit apprehensive about submitting pull requests, this is a great place to get a start. I'll do my best to try to work with you and get your pull request merged in. So. Let's see. Joseph also says, how difficult do you think it would be trying to learn React coming from Angular 4 background? I don't know myself because I'm not super familiar with Angular 4. I only worked with the very first version of Angular back in the day. So I don't know for sure, but I would imagine if someone had the intelligence to be able to learn Angular 4, they certainly have the intelligence to learn React. It may be you have to change how you think about certain things, but I would have no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that somebody is certainly capable of learning React if they know Angular. Yeshu asks, is it worth it to use Node.js against Gulp? I'm not entirely sure. Against Gulp. Alright, so I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. I'm going to rephrase the question and see if this is really what you're asking. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But are you saying to use like npm scripts instead of Gulp? So it would just be kind of directly using the npm scripts that come with Node.js. Is it worth it? It depends. If you're really used to using Gulp and you have a nice setup and you really like it, you could certainly do fine just sticking with that. If you're really worried about the speed and optimization of your development process, your build process, I'd say give npm scripts a try. They're pretty straightforward. I've always kind of wanted to set up npm scripts. I have in small projects before, but I always just kept going back to my Gulp setup because it already worked. So I don't know. Like I said, it does kind of depend on how many. If you plan on like reusing it for a ton of different projects, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. It'll save you time, potentially in the long run. But I think that's more of a personal choice that in terms of the end result, you can probably get the same end result with npm scripts or with Gulp. Harshit says, you know you're a number 3 in contributors for the bulletin. I didn't realize I had fallen to number 3, so thanks for letting me know. Yeah, so I really only work on the bulletin whenever I'm streaming. So I have other projects that I need to work on when I'm not streaming, so that's why my contributions are low. I appreciate everybody else contributing, though. It's really amazing. All right, cool. John Hansen, earlier I was talking about the optimal amount of words per line for readability, and John Hansen says it's 80 characters per line. So not word. I'm sorry that I mistakenly said words. You're right, John. It is characters. So 80 characters is, you know, give or take a few, but that's the right spot that you want to be in. So if you try for that, then it's more likely that users will read your content. Joseph asks, does Google have a style guide for React? Not that I know of. Not that I know of. So that actually might be good to look into. Perhaps instead of creating our own style guide from scratch for our React projects, we could see if there's a style guide out there that already kind of fits with what we're used to using. Potentially we could adapt it if we want to, but if anybody knows of a good React style guide, please let me know, and I could check it out. Alright, so I think I'm almost to the bottom of the live chat. So if you have a question, you haven't put it in there yet in the chat, please put it in there now, because I'm nearing the end. Okay, Humberto says, looking for sysadmin, about to go solo, a server boss, so moving from IIS from a 2008 machine to a 2012 machine with separate WebSphere server. Okay, so I don't know anything about IIS servers, so I shouldn't say that. I know very little about IIS servers, so I've worked with them. I've never worked with them directly, only kind of in a research type of way of helping out other people. So if anybody else can help out with that, please let Umberto know. John Hansen says, React is so complex to get keyboard events like arrow left and arrow right to iterate through an array of images as in a slideshow. I'm about to give up on that UI function. Interesting. I actually have never done that? I don't think I've ever attempted to get arrow keyboard events to work with React, so I'll take your word for it that it's a pain. Actually, let me tell you about a project I've been discussing with one of my coworkers here, because it's really fun. And you all, please let me know if any of you are interested in maybe helping out with it. So this would be a longer term project, but we thought it would be really cool for students who are interested in the university to be able to get kind of a virtual tour of campus, but it would not be like a normal virtual tour. The idea is to create a game, an HTML game, right, that can play in the browser or potentially be ported to mobile on React Native. But the idea that it would be like an old school 8-bit game, right? So possibly like top-down view like the original Zelda game, and we would recreate things on campus, and they would have a little guy that could walk around and see everything. So just a basic thing, but we thought it would be cool to do it in React because my colleague really wants to learn React, so he needs to get some projects using React like that. So he would actually be more of the lead, but I could help out and work with it too, and we could potentially work on it during the stream. I don't know. I thought it would be fun to do. I've always kind of wanted to try to do a JavaScript game. I think my kids would really enjoy something like that. So anyway, if anybody thinks that sounds cool or interesting, let me know. Then maybe I can move forward with that project. But if nobody's interested, then I'm not gonna try to put it on the stream. I'd rather do some things that you all are more interested in, if possible. So anyway. Just thought I'd bring it up. Let's see. Harshit has reminded me to commit this. Did I? Let's see. Get. Thanks for reminding me. I don't want you all, if you want to clone the repo or fork, I don't want you to have the older versions. I want you to have the latest one. Great. Okay. So Anna's here. Hey Anna, how's it going? Anna says, "What accomplishment are you most proud of?" Well, aside from all my kids and getting married to my wife, in terms of what I do, with web development, I want to say like whatever my latest thing I come out with is always what I'm most proud of, right? So I've been really proud of, like, the Resource Center. I was really proud of when I first made it, and I got a lot of great positive feedback. But then now when I look at the original Resource Center that I made, I just see, like, all that mess of code. So it's kind of a hard question to answer with projects like this, like we do, because they get old, and you can see the mistakes as they get old. So it's hard to stay as proud of them as I was initially. But I would say I did the first React site that I did for a paying client, so it was on the side. It wasn't for the university. That was the first site I think that I ever launched that I did in React. I used Next.js for it, server-side rendering. I was pulling in data from the WordPress API. It was very similar to what we did with Catechetical Institute. I was really proud of that. I worked on it just so much. That was one of my biggest projects for a client. That may have been the project that I'm most proud of currently. It was great, and then it provided a lot of extra income for my family. I got to use a lot of that money to. I bring my wife on a trip that I was going to a conference, and it was our 10-year anniversary, so we were able to pretend like we were rich for a couple of days and go to really nice restaurants and things. So She really liked that, so that was cool. The project itself, I learned so much on, and I worked through so many things that just made me want to like quit being a web developer altogether and just move to a cabin with no electricity. But I worked through it all, and so I was just so relieved and excited. And then the result, the reward for the work was awesome, and let me do some nice things for my family too. So anyway, sorry I went on a little bit about that, but I never really thought of it until you asked the question. So I wanted to give you a good answer. But anyway, that's the accomplishment that I am most proud of, at least from what I can think up right now on the spot. Okay, Harshit mentions that Stylus is even faster to write than Sass. Interesting. I never tried to use Stylus. It seemed to me Stylus was always like not as widely used on projects than Sass. Sass seemed to be the front runner. Has anyone else used Stylus? What are your thoughts on it? John Hansen says, in the React project I'm doing, I switched to SCSS from Sass. You are right, so easy to cut and paste. Styled components work very much like SCSS in JS strings, as in like nested. So awesome. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's just it's nice to have the freedom to pull in CSS from previous projects or from other frameworks and things, and just have it work and not have to convert it. So yeah, that outweighs the ease of typing in my mind, and that pushed me to use SCSS instead of Sass. So let's see. Harshit says, I like the ampersand the most in Sass. Cool. Yeah, Sass has some really cool features. Like I don't even use most of the cool features really. I don't think I utilize it as much as I could. But it's really cool. Rook says, would using some... Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a question. Ein bisschen, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, says, can you tell me the advantage of using GraphQL or why you would need it? Okay, so for GraphQL, in previous projects we used the WordPress API, which is a REST API, and that worked well. The problem was sometimes we had to choose. There was a trade-off. We could either make multiple API calls and get exactly the data that we wanted with those API calls, or we could make one API call and get a lot more data than we needed. With GraphQL, you don't have that problem. In GraphQL, there are not preset endpoints that you just get all the data from. You tell the API exactly what you need, and it gives you just that data that you need. So you can be more efficient in terms of both the amount of API calls you make and the amount of data sent on those calls. So that's why we switched up in this project to using GraphQL. I do think that it is better than a normal REST API. I suspect that in time it will kind of overtake the REST APIs. I mean, clearly, I think it is better. So I think it's just a matter of time before more people adopt it. Okay, so Rook's question is, would using something like normalized CSS be beneficial to this project? Might just try and do that to mess around with the Git things I learned. I don't know. I'm not sure if normalized CSS would be beneficial, or if essentially maybe if Material UI is already taking care of some of that stuff. Does anybody know or has worked with Material UI to know whether or not that is kind of taken care of? I'm not opposed to bringing it into the project if there's some benefit to it, but if it wouldn't be necessary, then it'd probably be better to not have it in the project. So I don't know offhand. I'd have to check that out. Maybe somebody's probably had a similar thought before, so I'm sure that the answer's out there. Let's see. Harshit says you should upgrade from Node 8.5 to Node 8.9 LTS. Yeah, maybe I'll upgrade it at some point. I really want to get that that application that we were working on, the Stylus for that done, that Salesforce one. So I'm probably going to take the rest of the day and really work on that. I did have some positive feedback from some people higher up at the university on it, but they did notice some of those things that we had noticed that I didn't complete yet. So I told them I was working on it, so I'd really kind of like to get it done as soon as possible. But yeah, I would like to stay up to date on that, so I will try to get that done soon. Okay, Harshit says the Airbnb guide is the best. So we were talking about style guides. It forces you to write good code if you have linting in editor. Cool. Rook also agrees about the Airbnb guide, and it says with minimal adjustment you can make it fit your preferences. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Using the Airbnb guide. Yeah, so there are some adjustments that I would like to make depending on what's already in the guide. I tell you the truth, I looked at it a long time ago. I don't remember anything from it. So I'm gonna have to look at it again. But yeah, we definitely should. That would be a good practice for people to get used to using a guide, because it's potentially you might need to use it. I guess I get a decent amount of people who are looking for work, and they're in here just trying to get some experience, submit a few pull requests. So it'd be good for them to get used to that, because they may need to use it on their job. So that's a great reason. And then just in general, it would help keep our code better. And I like Harshit's idea there, saying it forces you to write good code. Let's see. Ambition says games are too much work. Yeah, I agree with you there. This would definitely be, if we were to do a game, it would be a long-term project. I'm talking like maybe we'd want to have it done by next year around this time. So we'd certainly have a lot of time to work on it. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not convinced yet that we will do it. Just a possibility. Like I said, I think it would be really cool for the students, and it might be fun for us to make. So anyway, I appreciate the input though. So anyway, if anybody else has any opinions on that, please let me know. Harshit says we might use Canvas. Yeah. Harshit's asking, so what do you want to be done this weekend in this project? Okay, so in the bulletin project, let's see, what do we need done still? I just saw something. Okay, here's something that should be done, but it's on the wish list. So here's something that doesn't absolutely need to be done, but it would be awesome if it could get done. This is something that I've wanted to do with the bulletin since I first launched it over a year ago. I think it would be really cool if, right, we already have a user, we have their email address, right? So it would be awesome if, based on their email address, we could display, like potentially up in the corner, have a little circular icon with potentially maybe just their initials, or if they happen to have their email address linked up with something like Gravatar, we could pull in their data from there, display their picture. I'm thinking like, you know how Google does when you're logged into Google, some of Google stuff, you have your picture there, and then when they click on that, they could bring up, let's say, their profile. In their profile, they could, if they wanted to, add in their preferred name and potentially their preferences. So whether or not they want by default the grid layout or the list layout. If they would like, I'm trying to think, I would love to have a way to personalize like what they see. I still want control of like the very top area in case there's some emergency announcement that we need to put there. But maybe what categories they like to see, and yeah, I'm trying to think. You know, there's so many things we could do with that, like potentially a history of all the bulletin announcements that they've submitted. It would be cool to be able to see that. So certainly that's definitely on the wish list. It may be complex. If you're interested in taking a shot at something like that, feel free, but otherwise there's really only some small things that need changed, and it's mainly just like UI stuff, just kind of the look, style changes. So I don't know, that's all I have, and I'm definitely open to suggestions of what functionality should this have. Is there something obvious that you would expect it to have that it doesn't have, something I'm missing? Or maybe something less obvious that's just cool. Just to reiterate for those of you who haven't heard this already, the goal of this is an internal bulletin. So it's for university employees only. They just get announcements about schedules, so any events that are happening on campus, any announcements about holidays coming up, or new employees, or if an employee had a baby, or if there was and one of the employees' relatives passed away. You know, they'll put like funeral arrangement stuff in there, announcements from the president of the university. So things like that go in here. So given what the audience is and the content is, I'm open to suggestions. So anyway, so I know that's not like super specific Harshit, so it may be at this point, if anybody wants to contribute to this project, it's kind of like imagination time, right? I'm open to other features. All right, Anna says, thanks for answering. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. That was a really fun question, so I like that question. Thanks for asking it. Okay, so Terra Incognita says, I'm not sure for my current skill, am I really able to work efficiently on the... Oh, I'm sorry, I think I read that wrong. I'm not sure for my current skill... I'm not sure that I'm really able to work efficiently on the game project. For my current skill, I just rephrased that a bit. It was easier for me to say. But on details of that project, might make me confirmed about contributing on. Okay, so yeah, we can. If there's some interest in the project, I could get more like some detailed stuff on exactly how we would be doing it, and so yeah, I'll have to think about that. Maybe next week sometime I can devote a little bit of time in the question and answer to really getting in more to the details of what we would want. Harshit said, Stylus is great. It even gets rid of colons and has many great mix-ins built in. That's cool. Oh, Harshit says, Vuetify is the material design framework for Vue, and it's built in Stylus. That's cool. Harshit also says Material UI should have a reset like normalize. Okay, cool. So that's good to know. Let's see. Einbischen says there's no guide that allows not ending in semicolons. Oh man, that's going to be a problem then. I've gotten so used to not putting semicolons in. Rook says you can modify the rule. Well, that's good. That's good. Definitely would. If we can change that, then I'm in. Yeah. Let's see. Einbischen says, how would you store users' history on the WordPress server or locally? Okay, so I'm thinking. Let me show you. Where's my code? So let's check out our server for a second here. Auth. Yeah, let's check out our auth. So like we've already got this, you know, Mongo store going, right? This is MongoDB. So I'm thinking we would store the data there. And since we're already checking it to make sure that the user's like really supposed to be there and logged in, it shouldn't be too much more of a stretch to grab all the user data at the same time. So that was my thought. If I were going to do it, that's where I would start out at is, well, let's store all the user data in the same place and then pull it all from there. So if there are better ways to do that, I'm definitely open to that, but those were my thoughts. And we certainly could store things in local storage and then just update as needed. I think that's kind of a good practice as well. Let's see. Satinder says, don't be lazy because of a few viewers, bro. I'm not exactly sure what that was in response to. That was at 3:45. So that was a couple minutes ago. I don't remember what I was talking about. So anyway, Satinder, if you could let me know what that was, what I was talking about. Let me scroll back and see if I can remember. Fabio says, awesome. Hi from Brazil. Thanks for sharing the gold with us. I'm trying to follow the subject. I'm a backend only developer. Try to use React in both sides. Front and back is my new challenge. Awesome. That's really cool. I really enjoy talking with people that can't come from backend. So like I'm coming from front end and trying to learn more of backend. And I think it's just an interesting flow of realizing like what's hard about front end for people who are normally back end and coming into it. That's kind of cool. And then like what strengths and weaknesses do people bring from both sides? So anyway, I'm glad to have you here. Please feel free to add your input and your suggestions. I'm lacking in the back-end experience. I'm getting much better than I was with back-end even a few months ago, but that's certainly not, I wouldn't call that my strong point now. I'm much more front-end oriented, so I definitely welcome your expertise. So thanks for saying hi in the live chat. Ryan says good afternoon. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. Harsha says I'm back. My laptop battery died. Oh, okay, cool. Glad you're back. And let's see. Oh, okay, you picked it up on the phone. Harshit says, okay, so Harshit learned backend first as well. That explains why your expertise then with backend. So that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's always crazy. Like there are things that front end people seem are like, oh, that's so easy. But then you talk to a back-end person and they're like, no way, I don't mess with that. and then vice versa. There's stuff that to a back-end person is like, oh yeah, no problem, but a front-end person like me will just stare at that like, I have no idea what's going on here. So anyway, it's cool. I think it's great to have people of all different backgrounds and skill sets. It just makes our project so much better, and being able to share all that knowledge is it's really cool. I don't know of anywhere else where this kind of thing is happening, where we have such a large, diverse community all working on projects together. I know it happens on GitHub, but like in terms of the live stream and being able live to work with each other on this, I haven't seen anything like it before. I think it's awesome. Let's see, Ryan says, I'm learning how to do React from working with PHP and MySQL development on a programming career. Okay, cool. I'm really glad that we have someone with PHP, MySQL knowledge, because we're running WordPress for several different sites, and it's awesome that you're here. And please feel free to, when we work on PHP stuff, which we do occasionally, feel free to let me know how I could do it better. iAmbition says backend is way more open, front end is all just JavaScript. Yeah, you're right about that. That's a good and a bad thing. If you want to do front end, there's no confusion about what language to learn. JavaScript is it. But at the same time, if you don't really like JavaScript, you're stuck with it. Gleb says hello from Moscow. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. What time is it in Moscow right now? It's got to be getting pretty late, right? Okay, Terry Incognita says, sorry about the missing words in my last comment. Thanks for replying. Oh, don't worry about it. I mean, I'm like, not a problem. It was more just me trying to read it too fast that was confusing. So I'll follow the updates that's coming soon, and I'm definitely interested in working with this current project. All right, great. I'm looking forward to you working on this. So awesome. Ryan says, I've been trying to follow your videos on React and learn more front-end frameworks. Cool. Hopefully they've been helpful to you. Let me know if there's anything I'm not going over that you'd like to know about, or somehow I could improve the experience. So I actually don't often get suggestions on how I do these things. The only suggestion that I used to get consistently was you talk too much, code more. And then I've tried to do that. But I want to make this as good as I can in terms of my contribution to the stream, so suggestions are welcome. Robert says, I learned something new every live stream, thanks. Oh, awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm really like, that's what keeps me going. As long as I know that there's some benefit for you all from this stream, I will keep going. It definitely benefits me, but if it benefits you all and it benefits freeCodeCamp, I'm going to keep going for as long as my boss will let me do this. And even then, if my boss says you're not allowed to stream from work anymore, I'm going to try to figure out some way to keep doing it outside of work or somehow, because I think this is a really cool thing we have going here. All right, Gleb says, yeah, it's 11 p.m. here. Okay, cool. Thanks for staying up late to watch this. I mean, 11 may or may not seem late depending on whether you're a night person or not, but I don't know. I have little kids, so 11 seems late to me now. Jimmy says, hi, are you going to make a tutorial on Angular? I don't have any plans to do an Angular tutorial right now. I certainly don't feel confident enough in my Angular skills, which are pretty much non-existent, to be able to teach other people. But freeCodeCamp does have someone that's doing an Angular project right now. So I think last week at some point that video was published. So just check back a little bit in the videos and in the list of freeCodeCamp videos, and you'll see one that's at the beginning of an Angular tutorial. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'm assuming that it's good quality. I mean, everybody is really knowledgeable and does a great job here on this channel. I don't know if I want to include myself in that category. You all see how many times I mess up in my stream, but all the other people are really knowledgeable. So check that out. Harshit says it's 1:25 a.m. Where he's at. Yeah, I figured that it was even later there. So I usually don't ask how late it is over there because I have so many people from that area of the world that I've I can usually always figure out what time it is there. Just from hearing it so much in the live stream. All right, Ryan says, I'm looking at using React and Redux for building an e-commerce store. I have a client that would like one built on the framework React. That's really cool. Okay, I'm trying to think. I kind of remember somebody doing something similar and telling me about it recently, but I cannot remember who it was. If anybody watching now was the person that recently built some e-commerce stuff with React, let me know. It's possible I may have just seen somebody on Twitter talk about it and then I viewed it, so it may not have been directly to me. Man, I really wish that I could remember what that was so I could give you a link to it that would help out, but that's really awesome. I'm interested in seeing what you come up with. So I don't know if this is possible, but if you're allowed to have the code on GitHub available, like publicly available, I'd love to see that that repository. And if I have time, I may even help out with it and submit a pull request. But let me know if it's possible to. Then please send me the link, and I think that'd be really cool. Harshit says to do the e-commerce thing, use Gatsby maybe. Flipkart uses Gatsby at React, which is it's as large as Amazon here. Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, well, I've gotten to the bottom of the live chat, and it's getting nearly time for me to wrap things up here and go home for the weekend. So thank you so much for all your help in this stream, and I hope you'll learn something from it. I know I did. And I will be back. I should be back Monday. I have to go see a doctor about getting surgery done on my wrist, but that's in the morning on Monday. Hopefully my appointment isn't really long, so I should be okay to stream again on Monday. And yeah, so everybody have a great weekend, and I'll see y'all next week.